Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Pit and Table Chat Show. It is season 6, episode 13, and we are well into Christmas preparations. Now, I say that, and I don't actually mean I'm prepared at all. So let's dive into it and see where everything sort of slowed down. As you know, I have recently just moved into this new location. It should have been a really good and easy move into our new ant room, new office. Should have been really good. Right, it's been an absolute nightmare. Like, pipes haven't been connected properly, electrics are dodgy, and it's just been one thing after another. So actually sorting things out has sort of taken a back foot, we could say. And I've just had to been doing loads of repair work and trying to sleep in between because it's an absolute nightmare. So yeah, my house is currently broken, but we're getting there. We will survive and it will be fine. Who else is getting ready for Christmas? Let me know in the comments if you're nearly ready. If you are ready, well done to you. I do know a few people which are completely done and dusted already and nothing left to worry about. I am nowhere near that. But onwards and upwards. So the leaf cutters have been going absolutely nuts, as you might have seen in some of our recent update videos. I know Christmas, oh mate, like, so I like Christmas. I love Christmas, but it's falling apart on this end. I haven't been to the shops or anything because I'm just so busy. I'll get it done. You know me. Last minute, I'll just go nuts on it and get it done. But anyways, yeah. So the leaf cutters, they absolutely love sugars. Like, they go nuts for sugars. Now, a lot of people don't give them sugars, and I wouldn't advise giving them sugars often. But if you do have leaf cutters, sugars are still vital. And I tell you why, right? When they're cutting leaves in the wild, they would be soaking up and eating the sap that is produced from the leaves. Now, in captivity, when we've pulled the leaves or whatever, pulled the plant out, that sap instantly starts to degrade in quality. So giving them that little bit of sugar top up is really kind of worth it. You know what I mean? It's just that little bit that they might need. And as proven by every time I put it in, they go absolutely nuts for it. They do definitely require it, you know. So as a treat, not all the time, and I found the best way to do it. Good evening, Crazy Antics. I found the best way to do it is not to put it on the tinfoil, because originally I was putting a bit of the sugars on the tinfoil for them, and they would drink all the sugars, and then they'd start cutting the tinfoil. And there's actually 2 or 3 pieces of tinfoil around the nesting area, around the fungus area at the moment, and it's a bit like, whoops. So that's kind of weird and annoying, but it happens. It's not dangerous to the fungus, I suppose. But yeah, so I'm not doing it on the tinfoil anymore. What I am doing is giving them that more natural sap feeling of just putting a couple of drips on the leaves, like over the top of the plant as I place it in. And that, again, it just kind of recreates that natural sap that they would be ingesting anyways, if those are the correct words to use. So yeah, they've been doing really well. The fungus seems to be growing really well. It's about half of the size, maybe 3/4 of the size of that pot, completely full, like to the top and all the way around. You know what I mean? It's nearly filled up that pot. So we will be looking to put in a bigger pot soon. I am continuing to use the pots until that fungus is pretty much about 2/3 of the size of the chamber, and then I'll just let it sit in the chamber and do its thing there, by which time we'll have to probably get a second fungus chamber and start looking at expansions, which isn't a problem because we've already got that planned out and in the bag, haven't we? With this display case that I've so proudly showed off lately, it has got the option and ability to be built on and expanded, which is really helpful. Obviously it was the plan from the start, but yeah, so that's coming in the future. Talking about building and expanding on things, we will talk about the Polyrachus dive tank in just a little bit. It's going to be insane. I can't wait. Literally, I can't wait. I do need to wait, but we'll go into it. We'll talk about that in a bit. We'll talk about it in a bit. But so anyway, back to the leaf cutters. So you can like. I don't know how to describe them. They're so cool. They're literally mesmerizing. I could sit here for, well, I do sit here for hours watching them. And so does everyone else. Everyone that comes in is one of their first things. The polyracus tank right next to them obviously draws their attention because it's so big. And then they see this and they're like, oh, hang on. And it's like, yeah, that's my vegan ants. And I say vegan ants because obviously they process the leaves, but technically they do get like fungus is, would you say fungus, mushrooms is vegan? I know a lot of vegans which don't eat mushrooms because they're still like a living fungus thing, you know what I mean, rather than a plant as such. So I think fungus is a very debatable thing about amongst vegans. I don't know. I'm not really a vegan, and I try not to get into their circles too much. But yeah, so I don't know. But these, in my opinion, these are basically vegan ants, and they process leaves. They don't eat meat. They love sugar, bit like me. But I do eat my meat, obviously. Fungi, yeah. Fungus, fungi. See, it is a type of like, it's not a plant, is it? It's completely in its own thing. And I think that's why some vegans have sort of an issue with it. I don't know. Let's say I'd have to ask a vegan, and I'm not going to. Basically, mushrooms are fungi. Yeah, I know mushrooms are fungi. Everything's bloody fungi. Did you know, like the fungus is a different thing? Really? It all kind of falls into the same bracket, doesn't it? Like I say bracket, I mean overall category. Maybe I need to do some more research into this. Clearly, oh, I don't know. It just says that it's reached 0 degrees and it is apparently snowing here. My computer has given me a warning. Now, on my little island, you don't really get snow. It really, really has to blizzard for us to get any kind of snow settled because of the amount of salt in the air. Most of the country, I think, has had snow in the last day or two. In fact, at about 7:15 this morning, I did hear a blizzard. It woke me up. It was howling. It was hitting the windows. It was heavy. I looked outside and there was a sheet of white. I went to the toilet, came back and looked again. The sheet of white was gone. Fungi and mushrooms, fungus and molds, such things. Good evening, Rose Donna. Thanks for joining. Oh, Nottingham. What have you been doing in Nottingham? Anything interesting? I'm actually coming to Nottingham this week. How exciting is that? Like I've never been to Nottingham. I've never been to Sheffield. I am coming obviously to Sheffield in February, but I am coming to Nottingham this week. Not for anything in particular. I'm not even stopping to see anyone. It's just a driving up there and drive back sort of job. It's going to be interesting. It's going to be a nice road trip. Whatever. I'm just accompanying someone that has to do something up there, keeping him busy whilst he's driving, keeping him company whilst he's driving. Whatever. He got a leaf. I love it when they got a big leaf like that. Went to the Forbidden Forest for Christmas yesterday. You know how much of a I am so Forbidden Forest. What, like Harry Potter? I don't know of the Forbidden Forest. I don't know the area at all. Like, is that like a? Hang on, Oxford definition says any of a group of spore producing organisms feeding organic matter, including mold, yeast, mushrooms, and toadstools, truffles, are fungi but not mushrooms. Right. So yeah, mushrooms are fungi, but fungus doesn't necessarily mean mushroom. That's what it is. Okay, cool. I like that. Forbidden Forest. I better check it out when I go up there. Is that like the Forest of Nottingham where oh, I want to say Peter Pan and Captain Hook, but it wasn't. It was the other one in tights. Oh, what's his name? The other green lad. Robin Hood. That's the one. Robin Hood and Nottingham sheriff and whatnot. That's all up there, isn't it? Just thinking about it. You got some cool stuff up there. We got some cool stuff down here too. Obviously, the Jurassic Coast. We've got all sorts of things, all sorts of ghosts and things like that down here. In fact, on the Isle of Portland, where I am, we have the quite famous ghost tunnels of Portland. Now, these were just a old, basically battery, anti-aircraft battery and stuff from World War II at the back of the Portland prison. But obviously, being all underground and abandoned and whatnot, and there's no lights in there, they can be quite spooky. I won't say they're haunted, but most people refer to them as the ghost tunnels of Portland, and that's what they're known as, you know. Still a great historic site, and if you go there during the daytime, it's a completely different feel to the night. It all depends on the sort of mood you set, I suppose. Sherwood Forest, there you go, Sherwood Forest. See, that's right near Nottingham. I should look at a map up there. I've recently looked at the map of Sheffield again. It's not Robin Hood. It's not Robin Hood. Right, yeah, right. So I recently looked at a map of Sheffield, and it actually came to my realization that our venue in Sheffield is within like 2 minutes walk of the main bus interchange, and about 3 or 4 minutes walk of the trams. So no matter where you're coming from in Sheffield, you pretty much have great access to the venue. It is right on the city centre, obviously opposite the like historical Crucible Theatre, so that's pretty amazing as well. Right opposite the O2 Theatre as well, O2 Academy, I think it is. So yeah, we've got a spectacular location. Obviously, I had looked at the location before, but it hadn't actually caught my attention that there was a tram system. I'm quite a you could say tram fanatic. I like things like that. So the fact there's a tram system, I will be having a look. I'll probably be looking at quite a few of the train exhibits in the local area, because obviously it's rich in steam history in that sort of part of the country, which we don't have down here. We do have steam history, but not going back to those days. You know, it started back there. But we won't get into train history on an ant stream, not tonight anyways. But yeah, I'm quite looking forward to that. I do like those sorts of things. But yeah, it came to my attention there's a tram system, and I looked at where the tram goes and things, and then I looked at where the buses go. And it seems we've pretty much got coverage of everywhere. Yeah, I know, Dean. That's like, you're very lucky. I would be in the museums. I'd probably have like a day pass at the museums, you know what I mean, if I lived in that area, just because I'd be there all the time. They'd know me all by name, and they'd see me coming and be like, oh, it's him again. Like, yeah, to be fair, one of my first jobs when I was 11 years old, I worked in the local museum. And the thing which attracted me to it was the only place in town you could find out about the railway that used to run through the town. And it was one of my jobs was to dust the railway exhibit, which means taking the trains off the exhibit and giving them all dust, and then going over the whole landscape and making sure that's nice and clean, which gave me a great understanding of how the town used to be laid out on the landscape before it was changed. Amazing pieces of history, which I really enjoy, that sort of thing. I'm a bit of a nerd like that, but we all are in some way or another, you know. Cool. Now, I'm just drinking a cappuccino. We've pretty much ran out of milk at the minute. I can't be asked to go to the shops because it's so blimmin' cold. I'll go tomorrow. So I'm drinking a cappuccino with no milk. It's just one of those packet cappuccinos. I always keep a couple of those packet cappuccinos in the back of the cupboard for those times where you got no milk and you don't need it. So cappuccino. But it was so hot that I've just burnt my entire mouth in one hit. So I wouldn't. We're going to have to give it another few minutes. But it's only like half a cup. We should have filled it to the top. I don't know. Why did I do that, eh? Why did we do that? Right, so what's next on the list of things to talk about? I've been talking about all sorts of randomness. Right, so flower petals. I actually wasn't sure if they would particularly go for the flower petals, although the dried petals that we give them are dried rose petals. We're talking about leaf cutters again, sorry to jump back and forth. So the flowers, they do actually take the flowers and take the petals. And it's really cool because you can see the sort of yellow bits compared to the green bits in the fungus. And it's really cool. But they don't seem that interested until a lot of the leaves are gone So they clearly prefer the leaves. Now these leaves, they have been cutting, but I've been giving them the same kind of leaves for the last few days, and I think I need to go back to bramble because their cutting has sort of slowed now. They're still eating lots and still cutting lots. There's still lots of ant activity, but I would like to see a bit more cutting. Um, More cutting, yeah. So I'll go swap back to bramble next, see how that goes. I like to mix it up, keep mixing it up and keep them happy, you know what I mean? If you give them the same thing over and over and over, they will start to stagnate. I mean, like I say, I am no means an expert on leafcutter ants. I have just taken advice from about a million different people and compiled the best of it from the best keepers that I could find. Again, no one's amazing at anything. Everyone will have fatalities at some point. Even I am currently losing one or two colonies are on their way out at the moment. Not my leaf cutters, thank God, and all my dives. But some of my smaller colonies are on their way out, including a colony of Lasius niger, which this time last year were absolutely thriving in the hundreds and hundreds of workers. I can't tell you why, but looking into the nest the other day, looking very carefully, I can't see a queen anywhere. So it seems that the queen has passed away at some point for unknown reasons. I couldn't tell you. Queen's passed away, and the workers are slowly dying as the generations go through. So it's a matter of time, and that nest will be empty. I'll give it a good shake. Oh, your ants still haven't arrived. Oh my God. The post is, we'll get to that in a second. Hang on, I'm writing that on the list. Post. God. Yeah, so what I'm going to do with that nest, I'm going to wait for the nest to basically be completely full of dead ants or empty or whatnot. And I'll empty all the sand out and refill it with my own sand clay mix that I use. Which will be on the Ants on the Rock store after Christmas. I'll get into that as well in a second. Hold on. I've got to write that one down. So yeah, and I think I'm going to put my Tetramonium the Tet bees. I can't pronounce it. Come on, I'm going to put my Tet bees in there because they are rapidly expanding. They are absolutely nuts. And what we have is an experimental thing to attach to it when they need it, because obviously they will run out of room when they've dug enough chambers. I've got one of those old school ant worlds from Living World something or other. It's basically a kid's toy, and it's not a sustainable nest at all. Like, there's no way to hydrate it properly. There's no way to feed them properly. Bicarb nature. Yep, not doing it. Those ones. Thank you, Dean. So I've got one of these old school ant world things, and I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to attach it to that current nest that they're going to be living in, and they'll use it as an expansion. I expect they will hydrate it themselves. Now, most ants, you don't have to worry too much about hydrating their nest as long as they have enough workers and enough resources, right? And that is because the workers can take the water from the resource and take it to the brood and whatever and keep them hydrated that way. It does take more workforce, and that's why we do like to hydrate nests, because it makes life a lot easier for them, but they can do it alternatively. So given that, as long as I provide loads, I mean tons of water, then they should be fine because of their rate of expansion, because their rate of movement, and they're quite fluent in their movement. They don't stay in one location for long if they don't need to. I think these ants would probably be about perfect for the trial run of it. Now, quite often they'd say put something like Mesobarbarus in there, and that is what exactly you shouldn't be doing. Mesobarbarus do have quite a high humidity need when it comes to making the ant bread. They actually use the water to make the ant bread. So saying humidity was the wrong word. They have quite a big need for water. So having that ant world is pretty useless, but connecting it up to an already functioning nest with an outworld, I think, is going to be the key. So that's going to be interesting in the near future. We also have a worm world. Now, I was given both of these by someone very close to me. They were like, well, I've had them in the cupboard for a few years. You may as well take them on. Yeah, okay, I'll see what I can do with them. and that's the best I can come up with, the ant one. Now the worm one, I haven't actually dug it out and have a good look at it, but it basically looks like a glass jar that you fill with dirt and stuff, put your composting in there, and chuck in some wormies. Now I do already compost my own stuff. I have my own like soil mixes and things like that, as you know. Again, they're all going on the shop after Christmas. Um, so I'm probably just gonna do like a small version of that. And I was thinking I might actually chuck in a millipede. Some of the smaller millipede species that I have, not one of the really large ones, because that's way not big enough for them. But a couple of the smaller millipede species, I think might do really well in there. And then I'd be able to see how they act underground, because I've seen worms plenty of times, and I don't often get to see millipedes underground. So I think that would be an interesting experience. If you think it is, let me know in the comments as well. So yeah, coming to the next thing, let's talk about Post. The Post is killing us. Oh my God. Have you seen what their warehouses are like? They've just let it build up to the point where, like, I don't even know if things are going to get delivered by Christmas. Like, if you're ordering something, use a special courier now. Do not use Royal Mail. I think I've pretty much stopped posting altogether. I've just given up this year because it's just absolutely ridiculous. I've sent out the sub boxes, I've sent out ants, I've sent out sugars. Some of the ants have arrived. Some people have got their sugars, but that's about it. Like, that's about it. I know people that shops which sent out tracked items on Monday, like last Monday, and they haven't even moved. Like, it's absolutely ridiculous. Like, they did kind of do it to themselves by having these strikes at literally the worst time to go on strike. But I don't know. We're not going to get into the politics of it, because obviously we all know they don't get paid enough. But quite frankly, no one gets paid enough. That's the way of the world at the minute. No one's got enough money. So yeah, my fees go out to them, but we got to get this sorted, because it is literally, it's killing off small businesses that rely on it. Now, luckily, I do not rely on just that as my sole income. If that part of the business was the only bit bringing in any money, then I'd be screwed right now. You know, we'd be starving and going without Christmas, which I think is looking to be the option for quite a few people. And honestly, I think it's really taken a hit on a lot of small businesses. A lot of businesses that I talk to, obviously talking to quite a lot lately over the exhibitions and stuff. And it is really sad, and it breaks my heart actually, because people, I know how hard people work and what it takes to set up a business, especially a business in the invert hobby, which, you know, there's not a lot of money in it, and really you kind of do it for the love of the hobby. So I do, you know, my heart breaks for them all. I feel very bad, and we need to somehow get this sorted out. So let's keep our fingers crossed that Royal Mail pull their fingers out and get, you know, what they need. Like, like going back to the days when I used to work in the council. Now, these are not my words. They need to clone me and just get like 20 of me to do whatever the job is, and give me a couple of hours, it'll be done. Mambo, yeah, that's it. Because like, I just, yeah, you just gotta get in there and smash it out now. That's the only way they're gonna do it. They can't, you know, and the problem is they're not getting paid enough to do that. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But like I say, if they clone me, which anyone who comes up with a cloning technology, you're more than welcome. Clone me, as long as you don't try and impersonate me or say you are me. You have to recognize that is a clone, not an original, because I'm the only me. And the wife probably wouldn't like it. But yeah, you're more than welcome to clone me if you can work it out, and you can have your own little workforce of like crazy workers that don't stop until the job's done, basically. It just, yeah. So yeah, that's the Post situation at the moment. It is absolutely killing everyone. And anyone waiting for something from me, I really do apologize. I cannot apologize more, to be honest, but I feel quite annoyed about it at the same time. because it's out of our control at this point. Well, in fact, the only time, well, the last time I sent out live ants was the only day that week that it should have been fine to send them, and then that happened. It's like, come on, guys, you're breaking our confidence here. But anyways, we won't get into that. We shall move on to the next thing. Let's talk about the shop. We have all sorts of new products coming to the shop. We have 25 new products coming to the shop. I'm not going to go into details of what they all are. You're going to have to wait and see because they will be added after Christmas, and it's going to be a bonanza. We're going to have giveaways and discounts, and you know me, I just like to give stuff away for free. So we're going to do our best to do exactly that and make sure everyone gets to try some of our new products. We do have, like I say, new bioactive packs. I have already been selling these bioactive packs for quite a while, but not on the shop. It's more of they've asked me, so I've done it. They are going on the shop officially now, including all the sort of other bits along it. You can get like my substrate mixes and the clay sand mixes that I've created, and other things. There'll be plants and isopods. I've even got the magic potions breeding really well now, which I will admit were a little bit harder than the other species that I've got. I've got 9 species of isopods here at the moment, and they were probably the hardest to get breeding. But we will have everything from magic potions to dairy cows to just about everything I've got going on the market after Christmas as well, along with plenty of other cool bioactive stuff. Talking of bioactive, I have gone absolutely bioactive nuts again. Now I'm in my nice big new ant room because I've got the space to do it. We will go into that in just a minute, and I might give you a little sneak preview. I have done a few shorts and things. I haven't done a proper video about it yet. I'm trying to hold off until it is complete, and then I'll put it all into one big video. But you know what my patients are like, and yeah, I'm not very good at waiting. But yeah, I have been thoroughly enjoying the bioactive stuff at the moment. Oh yeah, 25 new products. We do have a ton of new ant species coming to the store as well. I should say that as well because they're completely separate to the products. Loads of new ant species, some really good sized colonies as well, and obviously colonies that did not get sold this year. We haven't got many left actually. We've got through most of our stock this year, which is really good, really positive, and I'm super happy about. We do have some Lasius nigers from this year's flight. 1 second, I'm being spoken to. And I am back. So we're having issues with the daughter not going to sleep, and they need my phone. So that whatever, I don't care. Take it. What were we talking about? Yeah, we got some awesome Lasius Niger colonies from this year's flights. They're all around 40 to 50, maybe also workers at the moment. So they will be going back on the site after Christmas as nice large colonies. Yeah, so it's always nice to have that little bit of a head start. I like buying queens, but quite often it's nice to just cheat and buy a ready-made colony, basically, isn't it? And you can just jump straight into looking after them, basically. Right, I'm going to try the cappuccino again. Brace yourself. That wasn't too bad now. That's just about drinkable. Cool. Right, so let's talk bioactiveness. So we all know I did my bioactive workshop the other day. That was absolutely spectacular. Nearly 40 young people. I'm not going to call them kids because they're not all kids. They are young people, young adults, some of them, all part of the local homeschool community. Isopods I will go into in 1 second. I'm just going to put a little star on that so I remember. There we go. All part of the local homeschool community. Absolutely spectacular. What was it? 39 of them, I think there was, literally just under 40, 39. So I've never dealt with a class, we could call them, of that size. It was difficult to sort of manage, but it was absolutely spectacular as well. And they I keep saying it, they were so good at listening and communicating with me, and they paid really good attention. So they've kind of got me back wanting to do some more things like that. So I've got, I think it's like a 5 gallon, a 10 gallon, one of those big glass jars that you see old people putting money in. We've got one of them. We are going to be doing a native building because why not, right? I'm going to wait for the nice, beautiful day where I have such a spectacular view out of my office window. It's going to make everyone's hearts melt. And then I'm going to whack out this jar. I'm going to go get some plants from the garden because we have awesome wild plants growing in our garden at the minute. And I'm going to make a bioactive build in this jar, and it's going to be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to that, actually. And it's going to look amazing, especially up there in the windowsill with the light shining through. I think it's going to look really good. And I'm not going to be too worried about it being in the direct sunlight because most of these plants are pretty much just outside of the window. Now, I say that my garden is absolutely amazing. Like I say, it is filled with all sorts of wildflowers. It does need a massive sorting out, which I'll be doing over spring and summer, probably for the next few years. But until that point, I'm just going to enjoy it. And we will be having, well, keeping a lot of the wild plants that are here. We're going to be moving them into a section designed just for wild plants. And then near that, we'll be growing our own veggies because we're into that sort of thing. Like I said, my garden's going to be awesome. But the wild plants is a major thing for me, not just for the leaf cutters to make my life easier, not having to worry about pesticides or fungicides being sprayed on any of my leaves. That's number one. But for nature in general, I think it is key to leave this because it's been here for a while. It hasn't been inhabited, this house, for a little while whilst they've been doing work on it. So by that time, nature's taken hold, already got a home. So yes, I might be moving some of the plants from the front garden to the back garden, but I'll be keeping them in the general area. And I think it won't affect the ecology too much. But most people would just rip them out. But I just like them. I like the wild plants because they like this. Like it's beautiful yellow. It's middle of winter. We got pinks, purples. I think we've got a red and a blue, and it looks amazing in the garden, even in the middle of winter. And that's all wild flowers. So although proper flowers are beautiful as well, there's nothing wrong with a few weeds. So, talking about bioactive as well, I think you might get a sneak peek now. Should we do it? I've built the expansion part of the Polyrhachis dive tank. It's nowhere near finished, don't get me wrong. I still need to add like the highway, in the the Polyrhachis dive tank. There's the super highway, we could say, and it runs along like at a height within the tank, across the tops of the tank, basically. I want to add in that sort of thing. So I need to get some nice big branches that aren't going to come out at the top of the tank because it's quite a shallow tank, but are going to mingle in it quite well. And then I'll be pretty happy. I've gone with a sort of dried up creek view because I decided I'm not going to move the pond from the original tank. The pond filled with crabs. The crabs live in tunnels, and it's just like I'd have to literally dismantle half the tank while trying not to damage anything, and the Polyrhachis dive's going nuts. It's not worth the stress to the animals to try and do that, honestly. I think they'd be better off with this option. Now, the tank expansion will take the ants to the left instead of going to the right where the pond is. So hopefully a lot of the activity will actually stay away from the crab area. The beetles have already started moving, mainly because I put them in there. I took some of the beetles out of the main tank and put them into the expansion tank, and I've added in quite a few species of the isopods, including some of our dairy cows, our zebras. I think there's the powder oranges in there. I think I even put in the magic potions, to be honest. I'm not going to go into any more isopod species than that. I'm going to leave that as a little surprise for you all because I've specifically not videoed some of them to see if they actually are going to work. You know what I mean? So that's going to be a surprise for you after Christmas. But yeah, so we've got, so we got magic potions, I've told you. dairy cows and zebras, the oranges and the greys, we will stick with that at the minute, but we do have 2 more species actually just there next to my scorpions. Absolutely spectacular. So yeah, this next tank, like I say, I haven't done a full video yet. I've done a couple of little short videos. It's inhabited currently by Solenopsis fuga that have been put in, which is, yes, another type of ant, and acorn ants. So we've already got 2 species of ants living in this tank, cohabiting happily. They're not bothered. But the Solenopsis fuga, known as the thief ant, right? They can live amongst other ant colonies. They're quite inconspicuous, and they are known for raiding other ant colonies and stealing the brood. And acorn ants are also known for their inconspicuousness as well. They are one of the few ant species that I've had success with previously, being able to put them in with Camponotus. Now, Camponotus are obviously quite a large species of ant, but they're not that much larger than Polyrhacus dives. So I'm holding my breath a little bit. I'm going to experiment. I hope my acorn ant colony doesn't get massacred, but I have a good, strong feeling that the Polyrhacus dives won't even notice them. And the acorn ants, they kind of stay in a very small territory on their branch, basically, because they don't live in an acorn, they live in a bit of wood, surprisingly enough. So they're not wood ants, though, because wood ants are full. Let's not get things confusing. They're acorn ants living in wood. Oh, God. I think they'll be all right, because they just dart into their little holes when there's any kind of anything going over, because they're doing it already with the isopods. Now, should we have a little look at this tank? Should we have a look? Now, you've got to bear in mind, it's literally 2 days old at this point, so the plants are still small and young. I've taken the plants out of the main tank, literally pulled the plants up out of the main tank and just put them straight in. Well, not straight in, I gave them literally 2 days to recover in one of my special growing units, we could call. You'll see that in the video. They're pretty cool. And then I popped them straight into this other tank with all that extra fertile soil. They should be fine. Within a few days, they'll stabilize and start growing again. In fact, I've already seen that the leaves are coming back to like prompt status. You know what I mean? They're standing upright rather than flopping about like they're about to die. So that's meaning they're taking in water and starting to come back to life, which is really good. The plants are okay and doing fine. I was going to use one of my bigger plants, but I went to put it in. It was basically bursting out already, and it just had a trim back. So I was like, no, that's not going to work. So that's going in another tank that I am going to be building in the next few weeks. Which is probably going to remain empty for quite a while. I might decide to put millipedes in it or something like that, but it is going to be eventually for our boreal tarantula, Mr. T, when he decides to grow a bit more. At this point in time, he's very happy in his small little setup, and he doesn't need expanding, but that tank's been sat there for so long now, it is killing me looking at it. And yeah, it's just doing my head in. So I'm going to make it look all pretty, at least, because I know I don't have to move again. Like, I've moved for the final time, so you know what I mean. Now I can go nuts on it. Okay, just reading this comment. Weirdly, one of the next colonies I'm going to be is acorn ants, just because I think yeah, right. So acorn ants they're great, and yeah, you hardly ever see them. Like, I only ever see them at feeding times. Really, that's a lie. Until now, I've only ever seen them at feeding times. Really, you'd put the food out, and then you'd look in, and they would be right next to the Camponotus, eating and happy. And yeah, it was odd actually. The Camponotus workers seemed more afraid of this tiny little ant thing moving towards them, and they actually backed off in the end and left the food to the acorn ants, which had their fill and then went back into their holes and left them to the Camponotus. It worked really well, but the Camponotus just didn't survive. Again, I can't even tell you what happened to them, because going through the enclosure, I sort of expected to find a curled up dead queen or something. There was nothing. There's no bodies or nothing. So I can't tell you what happened to the Camponotus. I don't think they got out, because how could they? You'd notice them walking about as opposed to the acorn ants, which could, if the campos can get out, the acorn ants could have got out, which they never did. It's a hard one, isn't it? So I don't know what happened to the campos, to be completely honest with you. It's an absolute shame, but that is the way of the world. And already I've got a new ant colony living in that nest and outward, which I just taken the acorn ants out of a couple of days ago. I'm pretty nuts, like I say. I've got a few ant colonies left from this year's stock, not many, but now I pretty much can just take my pick. If I want one, I shall have it. But I'm always like that, anyways. I shouldn't be, but I am. If I've got something cool in and I want one, I'll have it. Whoops. So let's have a little look at this other tank, shall we? Right, here we go. Here we go. Dun, 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 dun. Bear in mind, I haven't had time to redecorate, so we have got really bad wallpaper. Da, 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 da. Oh, da, 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 da. And that is that tank. We'll have another little look at a minute, and then it will connect up to a branch coming in here. And you see the dives are going nuts and building like crazy at the minute. Eating and whatnot. It's really hard to kind of do the camera looking in the wrong direction. So yeah, that I'm thinking like the stick will come up, bendy like a bendy vine thing, go straight up in here, and I say I'll have a second layer so that they can run up at some height as well, because they are arboreal ants. And I say we got zebras there, zebra isopods, and a darkling beetle. What else can we see? Oh, looking back here, if I can do that. We've got magic potion isopod. See, this is the acorn ant log. There's a nice dairy cow there. There's a dairy cow. You see the little tiny little holes. That's where the acorn ants come out of. Well, I can't really see any at this point in time. And yeah, so that will be the new part of the Polyrhacus dive tank. And it's going to be so cool watching them. Like, I'm going to feed them and everything in that tank. And then, there you go. Yeah, we're all right. Here we go. Yeah, so I'm going to feed them and give them all their expansion stuff and whatnot in the new tank. And then they'll have to carry it back across the big bendy vine thing. And it's going to be super cool. I can't wait for that. So yeah, that's the new tank. I hope you enjoyed that. I hope you think it's a cool looking tank. I didn't kind of go all out with it. I didn't want to overdo it. I wanted a nice clear view, basically, because they are such cool ant species. But as you can see, that other tank's kind of hectic these days, quite overgrown. Not overgrown, but it's all sort of just, you know what I mean? There's a lot of ants, so giving them that extra space, I think it'll help them and it will help me. My God, it is warm in here tonight. It is like, well, it's 25 degrees as it always is, but sat here, you get really hot. I'm gonna have another sip of my cappuccino, which isn't frothy anymore. I mean, that's the problem with letting a cappuccino cool, isn't it? The froth goes. At this point, I'm just drinking a coffee. So, what else is going on in the world at the minute, apart from everybody's freezing? It is super, super freezing out. It is now -1 degree here on the Isle of Portland. Again, we will not get snow unless it's like -10 and really chucking it down. There's such a high salt content here. It is ridiculous. Speaking of which, I actually did a study in the recent year into whether the salt content affects the insects living on the island. And it turns out it doesn't. There is slugs and snails all around the beach, which is going to be like the saltiest part of the island, you know. Go and lick the floor, it probably tastes of salt. I was really surprised to see slugs and snails in vast quantities, you know, down there. I thought they'd be a little bit more deterred by the salt. I thought other insects might as well because it could get in their spiracles and things like that, but it really doesn't seem to have an effect. Interesting. But yeah, the cold around here is absolutely ridiculous. If you are going out at the minute, make sure you wrap up warm. I don't just mean your ants, I mean look after yourself as well. The last thing we want is anyone getting ill. There's obviously a lot of illnesses about at the minute as well, some quite serious stuff coming about. So keep yourself safe. I'm not one to preach about health and safety and stuff, but just look after yourselves because I can admit this last couple of weeks whilst I've been moving, I haven't looked after myself and I feel awful for it. I'll in fact be having an early night tonight and back on things tomorrow. I am now working again full time in the ant world, planning the shows and working towards things and going absolutely nuts and having a brilliant time with it. Um, I have had my time off and I'm still a little bit unwell, but I'm recovering well. So we are back now. So if you need me, I am there to answer your queries, answer your calls, and your call to nature. That didn't work. That was in my head, but it didn't sound as good as it did when I said it. Oh dear. Like, what is happening in Sheffield? It is 62 days until our event in Sheffield. And my God, what a spectacular event it's going to be. What an amazing day. The only thing that I wish I could have done is made it a 2-day event because it's going to be so bloody amazing. Excuse my language, but yeah, it's going to be like so, so the things that we got going on. Like if you're on the committee, if you're involved in the organization side, then you've seen the works that have been going on and things we've got planned. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. It's going to be amazingly good fun as well, and not an event that's going to be forgotten anytime soon. We've got a few things that are going to kind of be like, oh, that's a bit different, wasn't expecting to see that here, but it's going to absolutely blow you away. And yeah, it's going to be an amazing day. I put a fair bit of work into it, we could say, to really bring you that kind of full experience of what I want to share with you. It is going to be stretched over 2 rooms. We've got 2 massive rooms. And they're going to be packed with over 30 vendors. I'm not giving you an exact number. We're going to leave it at over 30. We've got 2 stage areas, tons of exhibits, and loads of other stuff going on throughout the day as well. There will be maps and schedules and everything like that posted on the day all around the venue so that you know where things are at what times. Make sure you do check out the second room as well. Don't leave without checking out the second room because I know that is something that could happen if you don't see the entrance to the second room. You know what I mean? There is a second room. I want to make that very clear to everyone. Yeah, oh yeah, mate, Dean, it's amazing, isn't it? Compared to Bristol. Bristol, what did we have? Like 8? Like this is just absolutely blown up, and the publicity we've been getting has been spectacular as well. We've got some yeah, no messing about. We've we've blown it out of the water with this one, haven't we? It's amazing. Like, and it's not gonna stop. It's gonna keep getting bigger and better with every show. That's how I work, and I'm dedicated to doing that. You know, it's the vision I've got in my head. We're getting there. It's going to be absolutely amazing. We do have a face painter and other children-based, I should say, young people, younger audience-based things coming on the day as well. So make sure you enjoy that. Bring along your little ones and really enjoy the day. I mean, as a younger person myself, I wouldn't have had money to go into the trade area. I might have had a look round and maybe ask my parents for something, but I wouldn't have had the money to really enjoy the trade area. I'd be there for the lectures and stuff. So I think having these extra bits just to cater for the younger audience, I think it's going to make the difference to their experience of the show, you know. And yeah, some other cool, really cool stuff going on. Some stuff which I haven't even had the chance to tell the committee about yet because it's literally happened this evening. Yeah, kids go free. Anyone under 13 is completely free. So yeah, come along and just have a cracking day. Basically, it's going to be amazing. We are going to be joined by some amazing vendors. I say we have the Dragon Planet Designs face painters joining us. They do some amazing bug and insect designs as well as general kind of dragons and everything else that face painters do. You know what I mean? But they have some really cool stuff that are sort of more directed to us. So yeah, we are honoured to have them come in. We also have such people as Manchester Mantis NI as well. We have Unseen Universe. If you haven't seen Unseen Universe before, they're spectacular, basically. Mitch, I'm going to put a link into this stream in a minute because that's where I'm going after this stream. I'll be over watching his stream. He's currently doing a 25 days of Christmas advent calendar where he raises money for the West Oaks special needs school, which his son attends. And obviously that hits closely with me because of my daughter also attending a special needs school. It's £5 a ticket, which might seem like a lot of money, but you get 25 chance of winning, or you would have if you had joined at the start. Your ticket stays in for the duration of the draw, and he does 2 or 3 draws every night. There's close to 100 prizes spaced over like 20 odd days, and they are amazing prizes of like tarantulas. There's tickets there to the exhibition with a £10 voucher as well, cash voucher. There's vouchers to like so many different stores, so many different things involved. So like I said, I'm going to put the link in. I shall put the link in right now actually, because why not? But like I say, Unseen Universe, Mitch, he is an absolute legend, and it is such a good cause. And if you head over to there, they'll send you the place to donate and whatnot. Like I say, it's £5 a ticket, but you've got such a great chance of winning. Not just that, it's for such an amazing cause, really. I think they've raised about £3,000 this year already, which is absolutely fantastic. But that just shows you the caliber of the prizes coming. So yeah, that's where I'm going to be heading over after this stream. Not long. So if you're coming over, I'll see you there. And yeah, Mitch is awesome anyways. He's such a great guy. Like, you'll meet him and you cannot not get on with him. So who else we got coming to the show? We have we have Amazing Reptiles, obviously. Phil Barber, again, he's an amazing guy. He does the, I've forgotten his channel's name. Amazing Reptiles is his still. It's Amazing Creatures and Inverts and Creatures, one or t'other, something like that is Phil's channel. We all know Phil. He is an absolutely spectacular guy. He's going to be there. I'm not going to go through all the vendors because, quite frankly, my brain's just not allowing me to access that part of the memory right now, but we've got a ton of vendors. Everything from taxidermy, inverts. We've got Herp Mania's going to be there. We've got John's Terrariums UK. So we've got like plants and stuff, different enclosures. We've literally covered everything that you could want for our sort of interest, if that makes sense with those words. My words are not right tonight, are they? But you know what I mean. Oh, it's going to be amazing. It's going to be absolutely spectacular. Let's say there's still tickets available. There's still a few, very few early access tickets available. And there will be normal tickets available on the door. Tickets are only £5 if you're over 13 years of age. If you're under 13, it's completely free, of course. And it's looking to be quite a busy day. I think we're expecting 2 3, maybe 400, maybe a few more to turn up on the day. We'll see. We're not going to put a jinx on it. We're not going to say exact numbers yet, but I know we're very close to 100 tickets gone out. But we won't go into details. Yeah, it's doing well. It's looking good. I can't wait. Obviously, there is the bus coming up to Sheffield. If you need a lift, come message me. I will see if there's room, or if there's a route that we can get for you, or you can get on our bus. Like, obviously there will be a cost implication, but if you go into Sheffield, it's not going to be free anyways. You know, I think the train for me was going to be like 200 quid or something like that. So it was, I may as well hire a van, yeah, and actually do it. Yeah, so yeah, it's there if you need it. Send me a message and we'll get you sorted, get you to the event. Like I say, if you can get the train to Sheffield, it's the tram straight there. We are at the middle of the city centre. I forget what the road was called, Gate something, Castle Gate, I think. 25 days. What's 25 days? Now you've confused me. Yeah, right. Yeah, 25 days of his giveaway. It is 25 days. Thank you. I wasn't sure if it was 24 or 25, but mainly because advent calendars do that. Some of them give you the 25, some of them give you the 24. You never know what you're going to get these days. I mean, I don't even get an advent calendar these days. What am I talking about? I mean, the kid's going to get them, but whatever. Whatever. So what else is going on? There's not else much on the list to talk to you about, to be honest. So we are heading towards the end of our stream. If you've got any questions, any queries, any comments, just chuck them at me now and I'll make sure I answer before we end in just a few minutes. Like I say, I will be heading over to watch Mitch's stream in just a minute, and I do thank you all for coming to join me, but I do urge you to go over and just check it out, say hi as well. He's got an amazing community over there. I think last time I looked, they had over 70 people watching, so loads of people talking, loads of different invert keepers, tons of different shops. You might even be able to get some good deals on some of their last stock if you mention you're looking for something. So head over to Mitch. It's absolutely amazing. Like I say, he's a great guy and he's really putting some effort in for a great cause that I don't mind getting behind. You know, I like stuff like that. And like I say, we've donated several prizes. You're on both streams. Spectacular. I would be doing that, but I can't, because it just uses too much internet to watch something and stream. Not just that, brain power is not going to allow it. You know what I mean? But yeah, I'll be there in just a second. Well done, Rose Donna. Thank you for already being there. I know you do support Mitch in that way, but he is an amazing guy, isn't he? And he, like I say, he's doing some amazing stuff for a great cause. Yeah, like I say, I don't mind getting behind, and yeah, they're all sort of there. Go and say hi. They're an amazing group. And a lot of them actually are coming to the show in Sheffield, including Unseen Universe. If you go and meet Mitch at the show, he's such a funny guy. I'm sure you'll come away smiling. We do obviously not just have trade stalls, we have experience stalls as well. I have actually Crazy Antics. I'll go into that as well. We have experience stalls, like invert experience stalls. So if you haven't held things before and you want to give it a go over to them. They'll have different things that you'll be able to touch and hold and learn about rather than just spend money on. And I think that's vital to our hobby, having that ability of someone there just to say, actually, no, this is safe. You don't have to worry. All those rumors you heard aren't true. The shark's not going to bite your leg off. He just wants to be stroked. That sort of thing. I'm quite happy. We've got quite a few different experience stalls as well. And information stalls coming as well, because I think information is just as valuable as anything you can buy, you know, without going into too much detail, of course. There's going to be so much cool stuff. I'm not going to go into any more of it now. You're going to have to ask questions or wait to see, because I can't think. Like Monomorium Floricolor. Like I currently have Monomorium Floricolor, Monomorium Chinese, and Monomorium Ferros. those ones. I have all three. In fact, my Floricolor are doing the best out of all three, to the point where I've had to move them into a much, much larger enclosure. They are ferocious with how much they eat for how small they are. I've never had an issue with them. None of my monomorium have ever escaped from their enclosures. I use simple tubs and tubes setups, and I know this is a little bit controversial, but the best Ants UK boxes are basically the ones that I use. I block up both the holes with cotton wool, so I can expand it if I need to. And generally, I literally I haven't lost any or had any escapees from those enclosures. Um, so yeah, they're as good as they are, you know. Even though they are, like I say, a little bit more expensive, the way he's put in the holes and their air grate for me, I don't mind paying it because it's effort that I don't have to put in. And let's be honest, if you asked me to go out and drill some plastic holes or holes in plastic, I'd probably look at you and be like, nope, I ain't got that skill, because I haven't got that skill. I don't even own a drill, let alone like the skills possessed to drill into plastic or glass. I just can't. I've never done it before. I can drill wood and stone and builder stuff. I've never done plastic and glass. Like, I just haven't. It's not come into my remit. So I don't mind paying that little bit of extra money for an enclosure that's going to do the job for me and do it well. But generally, is there anything that you wanted to know about Monomorium floricola? They are a great species. They love their sugar. They breed very fast. Anything between 23 to 28 degrees, I find. Obviously, they slow down more at the 23-degree range, and it is better to keep them at that 28. But it depends how fast you want um, them to grow. This hobby has taught me really odd skills. Like, see, there's one thing because I'm cheap and lazy, I'd rather spend the money on someone else doing it and try and do it myself. I just know I'm no good at things like that. You know what I mean? Like, I just know I'm not. Like, it took me a long time to like not learn how to use a drill, but learn how to measure things out correctly and do things correctly. It's not something that like my brain takes in particularly. So drilling plastic, drilling glass, I'd probably forget to run the water on it or something. And yeah, because people said, why don't you just drill a hole into your Polyrhacus dive tank and like have a tube going between them? I was like, no flipping way. If I break that glass and there's like 40 million ants running about, not quite, but you know what I mean. What am I gonna do? I've been toying with the idea of getting some, as they're so small they won't take up much space. Right, so yeah, they can, because they breed so fast and they breed new queens without male involvement. Um, you know, what's that word for? I can't remember, but they're really, really prolific. Basically, they can take up quite a big space if you allow them to reach that. I do monitor mine. I slow them down on less 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 protein, you know what I mean. Um, but they are still very prolific. So it's a hard one. Like I said, I've never had issues with them. Never yet. They're one of my easiest ants to keep because of their temperature allowances. Their humidity is pretty much room humidity between 30 to 50. I found kind of works for them. You know, they don't need an awful lot. And then just expand with extra testing. That's pretty much all they need. Crazy antics. That's pretty much the bread and butter of them. You know, to be honest, I find that works for most colonies of that sort of size, because when you get a nest, you know, what's the likeliness that you're going to have enough monomorium to fill even the smallest of nests? It's not high, let's be honest. So yeah, I say test tubes are the way to go with such small species. You know, there might be products on the market, but generally speaking, that's the way I go with such small species. Yeah, and my floricolor are the ones actually in the larger outworld from Best Dance UK, because they have expanded to that point, whereas the Chinese and the Ferocis, or however you pronounce it, are still attached to the small Best Dance UK outworlds, just from the test tube straight to the outworld. And again, it just gives me, there is quite a lot of them. When you're feeding them in the test tube, it ain't easy, but it gives me that bit of space and maneuverability, a bit of room to do what I need to do, Yeah, but great species. I wouldn't say don't keep them. Just if you are keeping them, be aware that they are apparently notorious for escaping, although I've never had an issue from this. But I barrier it, I keep a barrier around. I put a barrier there every 2-3 weeks roughly. Whenever I feel I need to again, I look at it and kind of go, actually, they look like they're getting past that. I'll go whack another barrier on, like I do on all my enclosures. In fact, I generally see one ant start to climb up one side a bit too far, and I'll go around the whole lot. So barrier it, have a nice fitted lid. Generally, I think you'll be all right. You know what you're doing with ants, and they are fairly easy. Like you say, you can slow them down, but just be aware that if they expand and expand and expand, you'll have to expand with them. But a Venus nest is quite large as well, from what I've seen. I've never actually owned one. I just don't see the point, to be honest, when I can do exactly the same job with a box, box and tubes. But from what I've seen, they're fairly large. So yeah, it's exactly the same concept, Super colony incoming, definitely. That's the thing about monomorium. If you decide to power feed them for like 2-3 months straight, my God, you're going to have ants coming out your ears. I specifically only feed them 2 to 3 times a week, and I don't give them mass amounts of protein because they are one of the ant colonies that if you give them like half a waxworm, the whole thing will be gone. Like they don't leave a remains, they just take so much of it that it goes. Whereas, quite a lot of ants will leave a little like bit of whatever left over. They smash it all in because they're just ferocious with the amount they want to feed their brood. Which, again, I try not to look in too often, but last time I looked was filling 3 test tubes completely with brood. The entire test tube floor was just lined with brood, and it was like, okay, so we're going to have a lot of ants. Luckily, I do sell the monomorium on my website, so that kind of keeps my numbers down as well. I control them that way. But yeah, they can expand very fast, a bit like the tet bees, probably faster than the tet bees. Maybe the same, hard to say. No, I think I am about done for tonight. It is 10 past 10. I'm going to head over to Mitch's stream, see if anyone's won my prizes tonight, and then I'll be calling it a night. Do message me if you need anything. Make sure you don't miss out on the Sheffield event as well. Like I say, those early access tickets, get in 45 minutes before the rest of the crowd. Get those early access the early access deals, you know what I mean, the deals from getting in there before everyone. Get the best deals if you get in early, you know what I mean. And they're starting to take the sponge, aren't they? They're starting to take the sponge. That's not leaf. Put that back. Put it back. Well, I'm gonna have to deal with that. And no problem, crazy antics. Anytime, you know that. But yeah, make sure you don't miss the Sheffield event because really it's going to be absolutely spectacular. I can't wait. And there's going to be loads of people there as well. Loads of us are going. So it's a great opportunity to meet lots of faces that you've probably spoken to online and whatever. Those early access tickets, let's say 45 minutes earlier than anyone else, you'll get into the venue. There's not many of them. There wasn't many at the start, and there's very few left. So jump on them. They're only £10 a ticket, £5 more than the normal price, but I think that'll be worth it. But anything else at all, send me a message anytime, and I will be here at your beck and call. That kind of rhymes. It was in my head as a rhyme, so it works. Whatever. I'm gonna have to go because I've literally got beads of sweat dripping down me at the minute, and it's so hot. And it's coming up to 26 degrees in this ant room right now. It's rather warm. I'm gonna have to go and have a drink of water. So thank you all so much for joining, watching, and giving us the comments as always. Thank you everyone for supporting the channel. You're all absolutely spectacular. Please do don't forget to hit that like button and stuff like that. I'm putting Mitch's link into the chat again now. So if you want to head over to Mitch's stream, you're more than welcome. And I would like seeing a few of my fans there as well. Massive thank you to sponsors, Answer Us and Valhalla Martial Arts of Weymouth. Absolutely spectacular for their ongoing support of my channel and my business and growth and so on and so forth. I honestly couldn't do it without my sponsors, both monetarily and mentally. And of course, a massive thank you to my Patreons who also play a vital role in keeping me going, not just monetarily, but mentally going as well, because there is a lot going on. It's stressful moving. Sometimes I need someone there to keep me on track. So on that, I just want to say a massive thank you to my staff as well, including Dino, always there for me when I'm doing a million things too many at the same time. Yeah, so a massive thank you to everyone for all your ongoing support. You're all absolutely spectacular. And I hope I've just made you go a little bit red, Dean. So if you need me at all, you know where I am. Give me a shout anytime. I think I pretty much said about everything. Hopefully, I'll get to meet all your amazing faces at the Sheffield event. Anyone that I haven't met before, I'll get to meet you there and hopefully get to meet some old faces as well. But as always from me, I'll see you again soon, Ant fans. Good night.